showing more movies than ever at the Utah Film Festival. We should. It's on year 12, and we're trying to get past all this crazy COVID stuff. So we're doing that by showing more screenings every first Saturday of each month, and that includes some really cool panels. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first I want to talk about one of our filmmakers. This is Berrett. She is the filmmaker of That's a Wrap. And Tara, tell me a little bit about what That's a Wrap is all about.
It is a behind-the-scenes look of what happens between cast and crew trying to make a movie, and it's a satire.
Now, when you talk about satire, my daughter Harley was watching this film earlier. She's actually taking over part of this film festival, and she was like, wait a minute, this is not how a real film set works. And so if anybody's going in there like saying, this is not a very accurate documentary, it's like, because it's not. It's not a documentary.
You're supposed to laugh.
You're supposed to laugh. That's the whole
That's the goal.
If you don't laugh, then it became a really sad drama all of a sudden. Yep, congratulations. So one of the things that is really important when you're casting a short film, feature film, whatever, is the casting process, and it can be very tricky. If you cast wrong, it makes your job as a filmmaker so much harder. Talk to me about the casting process for That's a Wrap.
Okay. I was so lucky because I have a lot of great friends that I've met through acting classes and workshops that are great actors. We did a prequel to That's a Wrap 2 years ago called And Action. So a lot of them were returning in their original roles. But then I just sent out invitations for auditions to a lot of friends and people I knew, networking and that, and got to watch their auditions, sit on the other side of the table for once. It was a great experience. I loved seeing. I didn't really give many details or clues about what the character should be because I just wanted to see what their interpretation would be. And it was better than I thought, even better than I imagined. So that was great people.
So that made your job easier.
Yes, and not only that, but all the actors on That's a Wrap, we shot for 3 days, 36 hours, and no egos, no divas. Everyone was 100% prepared, hit their marks, knew their lines. So it was a great experience.
That's almost magic. I mean,
yes, it was.
You really hope for a set like that where everybody's prepared, just on top of things, and just 3 days just fly by.
I was lucky.
That's awesome. Now, every film, though, has its rewards and challenges, and just like you were kind of touching on right there, what would you say were some of the most interesting experiences on That's a Wrap?
Well, the very first day of shooting, we were actually locked out of our Airbnb for 3 hours.
What?
Yes, it was their mistake, and I was not able to get a hold of them by email, text, or phone. So I'm texting my husband, very frustrated, and he's very logical, and he said, well, since it's a movie making fun of, stuff and mistakes that happen on set, why don't you do a scene about it? So since we had 10 people outside waiting for 3 hours, and time is money, as you know in films, so we went ahead and improvised a scene and added it to the movie. So
I love it. So you were able to capitalize on a
happy accident.
It was a happy accident.
Yes.
You were able to capitalize, and you were still able to get a shot. I love it. Did it make the cut?
It did.
All right, that's an important part right there.
And then I think a lot that I learned is you have to be adaptable.
Yeah. And
so we also, since we had that 3 hours, that I already had, people ready and on the go, we changed a few of the scenes that would have normally been indoors, and we just did them outside waiting.
Why not?
It was good weather that day, luckily.
Luckily, that's fantastic. Now, this is your second project that you've done recently. Do you have any other projects coming down the pipeline that we could talk about?
Well, I keep auditioning. I'm an actress mainly, so I audition as much as possible, hoping to book something. And I have written a first draft of a psychological thriller that is kind of in the works, hoping maybe within the next year or so. It's a short to film, but it would be a totally different genre.
So we're not looking at satire on this.
No.
Okay, that's good to know.
Something kind of creepy.
Okay, so how can people find out more about you and the projects that you'll be working on? Like to say, okay, we just got to hire you. You're perfect for this role. How do they go about doing that?
So I have my acting page on Facebook, and then Instagram and YouTube. So YouTube, we have the movie, and we also have And Action, which is the prequel to That's a Wrap. And you don't have to watch them both together. They're fine standalone, but you do see a few of the inside jokes, or that you understand why Pedro is on set for the That's a Wrap if you watch the first one. So
that makes sense. Now, the best part about a live film festival experience unlike going to YouTube, is you can actually meet with the filmmakers afterwards. And so there's a Q&A that we're going to be doing there that I'm assuming you're going to be there for.
Yes, I will be there.
And so you'll be able to answer questions and talk about the whole filmmaking process. So if you're watching this right now and you're like, man, I really want to get into filmmaking and I want to learn more about it, this is how you do it. You come to a festival, you talk to the filmmakers, and everyone's been pretty open with their experiences. They're not hiding anything from you. So come and ask the questions. That's how you learn. Guys, we have more great filmmakers coming up. And that part I was telling you about of the really neat things, I'm going to hold off on that for a later interview. But it's coming soon. And there's a lot of exciting stuff happening at the Utah Film Festival. See you in a minute.